Hey, what's up, you guys? It's me, O'Dear, aka the O Review. So it was Disney Plus Day today, and not a lot of things got announced. A couple new Fox projects like Ice Age, a new Die Wimpy Kid. But the weird thing is that I don't know why they did this year, but this year it had everything to Twitter. Like I had to refresh Twitter just in case something came up, which a new piece of news came up, a new piece of artwork for Star Wars. There were no trailers for Star Wars, but the Marvel stuff, which I really am going to talk about, most of those were on the Disney Plus app, where I saw the posters, I saw the logos, I saw the names of what was coming up, but everything was on Disney Plus, which I had to be like, I don't understand why they couldn't do a live stream like last year when they announced Loki, Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision. I don't know why they didn't do that, but that doesn't matter right now. What I'm about to do is talk about some of the newest Disney Plus Marvel announcements. Some of them we already know based off the D23, or I can't even remember if it was years ago, of Comic Con or D23, one of the two, where we already got the four shows: WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, and What If. The four series have already run on Disney Plus, and now that we're entering a new age, we're gonna deal with some of the new future installments of the MCU. Especially, now I remember, D23 was the last thing that they announced the last couple shows. So D23 they announced Moon Knight, which we got a piece of footage of, and it actually kind of looks good. We see Oscar Isaac as Mark Spector, Moon Knight. The footage looks good. We don't see the face, but we do see him in the white hood, the cape, a new reflection of the footage where you see him running through the night, and a voice which could be a piece of his powers. Because for those of you who don't know, Moon Knight is mainly a schizophrenic, um, human, not human, but basically he's the type of hero where you can see that he has a mind of his own, where he has one personality, multiple personalities, leading him to be the same person, like Split, like in Split, like how Kevin was a kid, then he was a woman, then he was a man, and basically that's basically Moon Knight. He's schizophrenic. He doesn't know what everything is real or not, but the power set he actually gets from the stone actually gives him the powers of an Egyptian god, which I do love the footage. I can't wait to see that next year when it comes out. The second one they showed was She-Hulk, which I was actually surprised we were going to do She-Hulk since we actually see Hulk in the MCU, but there hasn't been any mention of a cousin or anything blood relatives, since we know he's on the run, but now he's an Avenger, which I don't know how after Endgame everything is going to work out with the new design, which I still don't like that they nerfed, and I don't understand why they did that, but for comedy, that's why they did it. But anyway, I do love the way that everything is staying root to the comics, where She-Hulk, she's a lawyer, but what you do see is the physicality of Tatiana Maslany as Jennifer Walters, where you see that one shot of her just stand up, and you see the purple and white suit, like the skimpy jumpsuit, and you do see her green, and you kind of do see her go back into human form, which I've never seen before, but I feel like the MCU is going to be more double teaming it, where you see Jennifer Walters as She-Hulk and Jennifer Walters as an actual lawyer, but I don't know whether they want to do the Guardians of the Galaxy thing where they want to paint her green, do the CGI effects to actually make her strong and stay that like that through the entire show. Because I do love those moments where you see that she's basically like a metahuman, but you see her in actual life where people don't know whether to judge her, neglect her, or see how she fits into society like the Hulk, where the Hulk is all rage smashing, but you do see that people don't like him, but Bruce Banner is actually in control of the Hulk now. Where Jennifer Walters, she's mentally capable of handling her Hulkness and actually can control her strength. But I don't know. She does say the line at the end, "You wouldn't like me when I'm angry." And I kind of do want to see what everything goes forward with that. After that, we actually got a bit of footage from Miss Marvel, which, don't get me wrong, I know it was one of this Disney Plus series we were supposed to get this year, where in between the original schedule, where before the COVID delay, I know we were supposed to get Hawkeye like around the summer, and then Miss Marvel in the fall, because we were gonna get Captain Marvel back in March of 2022, and I don't know whether they moved it or changed a couple things, because they'd already finished shooting. It's done, and we got a piece of footage last year during the whole Disney investor meeting, where you do see a bits of uh, her costume, which is more boots on the ground, like the Spider-Man Homecoming suit, where you see him with the goggles and the hood. But I do like the footage that they showed. Not too much, but I don't understand, because I don't know too much about Miss Marvel. She's more of a new character for me. But I don't know whether she gets her powers like Captain Marvel, where you see a piece of the footage where you see her raised, like in the movie Captain Marvel, you see where the Tesseract got into her, giving her the powers. I don't know if they're gonna be doing the same thing because it looks like they kind of do in this show for Miss Marvel to get her powers, rather than being an Inhuman, like almost like the X-Men, like Marvel's versions of X-Men, like for them characters being Inhumans. I don't know whether they're gonna do that or not, but the footage looks good. You don't see too much. You don't see her fly. You don't see her arms extend. You don't see anything besides her just, just hanging out, being an introduction to the MCU. And after that, we got a buttload of a lot of announcements. Some of them I'm gonna get them off the way because we already know them, and it's obvious that they're the ones we're gonna see the most. Loki season 2, I'm excited for that, especially after the cliffhanger, which I don't know if it's gonna deal with everything exactly at that point, or everything that's gonna go on with Ant-Man and the Wasp, because Kang is supposed to show up in Ant-Man, but Kang is still in charge of the TVA, and I don't know whether there's gonna be incontinuity where Loki season 2 leads directly into that, or Ant-Man comes first, and everything after Ant-Man, that's what deals with in the middle of Loki season 2, like at the same time. But I don't know. I'm excited for Loki season 2. And after that, we already know there's season 2 of What If. I do love season 1 of What If, but the thing is, I only have like 2 favorite episodes out of the whole 9 that they showed: the Marvel Zombies and the Doctor Strange episode. Those 2 were the strongest episodes for me, not just because I do love the darkness of that Doctor Strange thing where we haven't seen anything like that before, and you do see that through all that power and magic, he actually destroyed a universe, and he's the only one who can actually deal with the consequences. And the Marvel Zombies episode, because I do love the Marvel Zombies, and even though it wasn't the exact adaptation I've seen from the comics, I do kind of like the MCU spin where you actually see characters actually devolve and evolve into the zombies, especially with some of the characters who actually use their powers that actually keep them from getting bit, like the Hulk when he actually almost got bit and he transformed. I don't know if we're going to see a continuation of that scene or anything in between that, because I do know that Black Panther, which is no longer with us, Spider-Man, and Ant-Man have the cure, and Thanos is in Wakanda. And I don't know whether it's going to be a whole thing of those 3 versus Thanos and his army, or Thanos if there's any other remaining Wakandans left. I don't know if it's going to continue off of that, but I'm excited for what happens there. And now we get into the new announcements, which this one, I'm actually surprised, because I didn't hear anything from this, and I didn't know we were going to get this. We're getting a continuation of X-Men the Animated Series on Disney Plus, Season 6. And I'm kind of surprised because I'm like, oh, when it showed up the logos, it said X-Men. I'm like, oh, so we actually get the MCU X-Men. No, it's a continuation of the animated series, X-Men 97. And I actually do kind of like that the art style is exactly comic accurate. Not like the digital cell models they've been using for the past cartoons, where I feel like the superior versions of the Marvel characters and shows that I've seen were the original X-Men Spider-Man cartoons back from the 90s. I grew up on those, that's how I learned about the characters, and all of them crossed over into one, being my first kind of introduction to the MCU and Marvel characters as a whole. And I kind of do wonder what are they going to do in this version of the X-Men, which is different because it's been a while since I've seen the old X-Men TV show, and I know they continued into the Spider-Man series, which ended in a cliffhanger where you do see Peter meet Stan Lee and then go back with Madam Web to find the real Mary Jane. But I don't know if it's going to continue off of that or it's going to lead into a continuation of the animated series, but years later into the future where you see new stories of the X-Men, maybe adaptations of the new famous comics. Maybe Old Man Logan, maybe a new version of the Uncanny X-Men. House of M, I don't know what they're going to do for it, but I'm excited for the new X-Men animated series. And after that, we actually got another animated series, which I'm kind of surprised because I never thought about this, but they're kind of doing it, Spider-Man Freshman Year, which is basically the beginnings and the actual origin of the MCU Spider-Man, which this Peter Parker, we've seen his introduction in Civil War, we've seen him basically save trucks, but nobody cares. He's basically small level heroes like the Defenders, but you don't see anything specifically people care about Spider-Man like the Avengers, because you do see him boots on the ground, him make his own tech and his own webs. He can stick to walls, but basically nobody cares that much because Spider-Man's a small scale hero. And that's one of the things I love about the MCU Spider-Man and Homecoming. But now, as the movies kept going and you see bits of Iron Man Jr., Peter Parker not struggling with anything like the one I know, I kind of do want to see what is his beginning like. And plus, we're going to see an MCU version of Uncle Ben being killed. Maybe possibly the great power comes great responsibility line. I hope we get to see that, and I hope this cartoon is actually good. Okay, now we get into the live action stuff. No, I forgot one. Though another one, which I'm actually proud of that they announced, is an actual adaptation of Marvel Zombies. I don't know if they didn't say if it was a movie or a show, but now I feel like with this, it could either be a continuation of the What If episode of Marvel Zombies, but I don't know if it's going to be an actual adaptation of the comic book, where it's going to have the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, the Avengers, the Inhumans, everyone into one story where the zombies they come from another dimension and they come into the main MCU universe or Marvel 616, and we actually see the beginning of an actual apocalypse. I don't know if they're going to actually do that story or they're going to do an MCU spin like they did in the What If episode, but I'm kind of glad that this is an actual cartoon. Not a cartoon, but I do prefer a live action version, which is going to be weird because I know the continuity is not going to work and it's going to be its own story. But I kind of do wish they made an actual like one shot episode or one shot movie version of the what if, of the zombie episode. But you actually see it like it's not canon to the MCU. You see its own story, a bit of introduction to the X-Men and Fantastic Four since they're part of it. But I don't know if they're going to be a movie or a cartoon. I'm actually excited for it. Okay, now we get into the TV shows. So one of them, which I'm surprised that actually got announced before it came out, was basically Marvel Echo. Echo, if you don't know, is a character from the Daredevil comics. She's not blind, but she's deaf. And she's almost like Taskmaster in the sense that she can look at you and copy your movements. And we saw a bit of her in the Hawkeye footage, which I'm like, oh, she's in Echo, but she's in Hawkeye. That Echo's in Hawkeye, but I'm kind of wondering, is this their way of kind of reintroducing the Marvel Netflix characters? Because Daredevil is a main part of her story since she's one of his exes, and she kind of did train with the hand and from stick. But I don't know whether they're going to do the same thing they did with Spider-Man, like introduce them like they exist, or be a continuation of the Netflix series. Because I do love the series, I do want to see them be part of the MCU, and I do hope if the leaks are real or not real that he's actually Peter Parker's lawyer in No Way Home. I do want to see if that actually exists. Okay, so next up, we actually get an announcement for it was Agatha all along. Agatha House of Harkness is actually getting her own series on Disney Plus, which I kind of feel like was a meme at some point because people were like, "Oh, give her a show, give Agatha a show" after the intro. But I don't know whether she does deserve a show because I look at her, but I don't feel like she's. Yeah, there's magic and there's lore in the beginning of her story, but I don't know if anything is going to lead up to a big event because I don't know if she's going to get a show because the fans wanted it. I know it could possibly be an introduction to Mephisto. Maybe not, don't know, but it's one of the iffies. I'm actually not excited for it, but I'm like, I'm glad it's happening and people got what they want. Let's see what they do. Another one is I Am Groot. I'm going to skip through this one because it's just Baby Groot on little side adventures. Yeah. Well, moving on. We actually get an announcement for Ironheart, which we actually got an announcement for. We get a new logo. We see that Riri Williams is going to be introduced in Black Panther 2. I don't know whether that was a smart choice, because if you see a character from the movies go into her own show, I'd rather see the character go into her own show first, then cross over into the movies, because I don't know whether she's going to be a side character or just a cameo. Because I do know she's an MIT student who actually was inspired by the Iron Man suit, made her own, and actually became smarter than Tony Stark at some point. I don't know if they're going by that story or she was inspired by Iron Man, made her own suit, and wants to be the next Iron Man. I don't know what direction they're going to bring this into without Tony Stark coming into play, because I know he's a big part of that arc. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I hope I get to see a lot of good stuff from it. And I wonder if it's going to be the one thing on Disney Plus that actually be like, oh, this is something different, but almost like Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's more boots on the ground rather than a whole terrorist making another person making their own suit, something like that. I'd rather see her go up against small scale things rather than leading up to some big event or fighting aliens or something like that. All right, one of the next ones we actually got was, yeah, man, I'm tripping right now. Okay, another one was Secret Invasion, which I actually kind of excited for because we actually kind of do see the Super Scrolls in it from the logo, because you see at first it was the comic book orange, but now they transform into the green and purple, which I actually do think we're going to get our first introduction to the Super Scroll. A scroll where you don't know, like the Super Scrolls, like in the MCU, the Scrolls can transform into somebody, but they can't copy their powers. But the Super Scrolls, they transform into a character, a Marvel character or anything, they get their powers. Like if somebody transforms into Iron Man, they get to repulsor blast. If somebody transforms into SpiderMan, they can web shoot, actually stick to walls. I kind of do want to see what's going on in that series because now after Far From Home, we get to see that Nick Fury and Maria Hill were actually Skrulls in disguise. But I don't know if it means something or if it's going to lead into something bigger, knowing that everybody is replaceable, everybody's a Skrull, or whether who or you can and cannot trust in the MCU anymore after this show. I'm kind of excited for it. And the last one on my list is Armor Wars. Armor Wars, if you don't know, is a series based off of Don Cheadle's War Machine. He's actually coming into play of what if Tony Stark's weapons of mass destruction got into the hands of wrong terrorists and stuff like that. I'm not too big on it because no, every Iron Man inspired thing is going to be not the same without Iron Man, but I do want to see how that kind of works because that was the one thing I'm like, does Rhodey deserve a show? I feel like all the side characters do have a purpose, but then again, they don't deserve a purpose rather than being support. Like Falcon and Bucky. Both of them have their own ways of being part of Captain America or being a sidekick, but both of them actually make their way to plan their own journey into the MCU, like Falcon becoming Captain America. Bucky getting over the PTSD and being the White Wolf and being a sidekick to Sam. But I don't know whether it's going to be the same thing like that or War Machine leaning into his own, actually taking these guys down. I don't know. I'm kind of excited for it. I just hope it's good. We didn't get any movie announcements. No, nothing going on yet. But yeah, that's all I can say about the Disney Plus Marvel announcements. I did see a concept art for Obi-Wan, which I'm kind of happy for, that we get a rematch with Darth Vader. There's a lot of things that they announced, like Spider-Man Chronicles, a new version of Cheaper by the Dozen, a sequel to Diary of a Kid Logic Rules. I don't know why they announced it through Twitter, because that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about the Marvel stuff. I gave you the Marvel stuff. Anyways, that's all for now in the overview. And I'm just going to leave this now because as I'm recording this is Friday, but then again, I don't know whether I'm going to finish editing it by then because I'm hearing rumors that there's a trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home coming on Tuesday. I hope it's true, but then again, I feel like it is because the week after that is Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is a Sony movie, and I know is going to be a way to bring people into the theater to go see it. I don't know if it's going to be online or they're going to post it with the movie, like exclusive only in theaters, but I don't know if they're going to try to do that. But anyways, I'm excited for it. I hope they don't show Toby and Andrew. I'd rather see the Sinister Six. And I'm going to flip out when you see the reaction when I do it. Alright guys, that's all for today. Be sure to like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye guys.